Does merely saying that I am a Christian make me a Christian? How can I be sure the Holy Spirit is living in my heart? We're continuing the study of the book of Hebrews. The focus in this series is the one who has lived a perfect life and has paved the way for us to come to God. When we look at the law, the 10 Commandments, we see that we are all guilty of sin. The penalty for sin is death. For the wages or payments for sin is death. But under the new contract or new covenant, God offers us the gift of eternal life. All we must do is accept Jesus, the avenue through which the gift is given. Holy Father, we thank you for your love and your mercy. We humbly submit ourselves to you today, asking you to give us new lives. Plant your love in our hearts that we may demonstrate our love by obeying your commandments. In Jesus' name, amen. The key text for this series of lessons is Hebrews 8, verse 6. It says, "But as it is, Christ has obtained a ministry that is as much more excellent than the old as the covenant he mediates is better, since it is enacted on better promises." In the Old Testament, Jeremiah and Ezekiel talk about the new covenant promises. How are these promises? They are speaking of the same. This is what Jeremiah says. "But this is the covenant which I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my law within them and on their hearts. I will write it, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people." And here's what Ezekiel says. "Moreover, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you, and I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes, and you will be careful to observe my ordinances." Did you notice that both Jeremiah and Ezekiel talk about God putting his law in our hearts? We understand that God wrote the first covenant or agreement on stone. Moses put these tablets of stone in a special box called the Ark of the Covenant to be a witness of God's covenant with his people. When he had finished speaking with him upon Mount Sinai, he gave Moses 2 tablets of the testimony, tablets of stone written by the finger of God. At that time, the Lord said to me, "Cut out for yourselves 2 tablets of stones like the former ones, and come up to me on the mountain and make an ark of wood for yourself. I will write on the tablets the words that were on the former tablet, which you shattered, and you shall put them in the ark." So I made an ark of acacia wood and cut out 2 tablets of stone like the former ones, and went up on the mountain with the 2 tablets in my hand. He wrote on the tablets like the former writings, the 10 Commandments, which the Lord had spoken to you on the mountain from the midst of the fire on the day of the assembly, and the Lord gave them to me. The problem is stone can be broken, paper can be cut and burned, just as what Jeremiah experienced. When Jehudah had read 3 or 4 columns, the king cut it with the scribe's knife and threw it in the fire that was the brazier until all the scrolls were consumed in the fire that was in the brazier. Therefore, rather than stones or scrolls, God now writes his law in the hearts of his people. The heart here refers to the mind, the organ of memory and understanding. The mind is the part of our body that knows and remembers. For instance, Jeremiah talks about the heart that is fed knowledge and understanding. Then I will give you shepherds after my own heart, who will feed you on knowledge and understanding. And Moses in Deuteronomy talks about a heart to know. Yet to this day, the Lord has not given you a heart to know, nor eyes to see, nor ears to hear. So the heart is symbolic of the place where conscious decisions are made. For example, Jeremiah talks of Judah refusing to decide to turn to God with all her heart. Yet, in spite of all this, her treacherous sister Judah did not return to me with all her heart, but rather in deception, declares the Lord. And Jeremiah talks again about what will happen when Judah decides to search for God with all their heart. You will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. We make important decisions with our minds. Through the mind, God has granted us free choice or free will. Hence, God don't want us to just have a knowledge of his law. He wants us to have a change in heart. The promise that God made to write his law in our heart shows that God wants everyone to know and understand his law. God also wants to change the hearts of his people for the good. The problem, however, with Israel was that their sins were deeply ingrained within them. Jeremiah explains, the sin of Judah is written down with an iron stylus. With a diamond point, it is engraved upon the tablets of their hearts and on the horn of their altars. Jeremiah reveals that Israel had a stubborn heart. This wicked people who refused to listen to my words, who walked in the stubbornness of their hearts and have gone after other gods to serve them and to bow down to them, let them be just like this waistband, which is totally worthless. They keep saying to those who despise me, the Lord has said, you will have peace. And as for everyone who walks in the stubbornness of his own heart, they say calamity will not come upon you. So it was not possible for Judah to do the right thing. Because their hearts were so stubborn, it was impossible for them to do what was right. Just like the Ethiopian cannot change his skin, or the leopard cannot change his spots. Can the Ethiopian change his skin, or the leopard his spots? Then you also can do good who are accustomed to doing evil. So how can this heart problem be solved? Notice, Jeremiah did not announce a change of the law because the problem of Israel was not the law, but the heart. Changing the law was not the solution. Why? Because the problem Israel had was not the law, but it was in their hearts. God wanted Israel to be obedient, to be faithful. He wanted them to show their gratefulness and be thankful to God for everything he had done for them. That is why God told Israel how much he loved and cared for them before he gave them the 10 Commandments. God, prior to giving the 10 Commandments, gave Israel a historical prologue as an expression of his love. It was a reminder of what he had already done for them. Then God spoke all these words saying, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. God wanted Israel to obey his laws. His law was an acknowledgement that he wanted the best for them. Obeying his laws was to be an expression of their gratitude, and it was to show that they had a relationship with him. In other words, God's reminder of what he had done for them shows that God wanted Israel to obey his laws to show that they understood how much God wanted the best for them. God had already showed how much he loved them when he freed them from Egypt. Thus, he wanted them to show their love and gratitude by obeying his laws. The same is true for us today. God expects the same obedience and thankfulness from us today. Jesus' love and care in dying for us is his prologue, our introduction of the new covenant, when he poured out his blood for us. And in the same way, he took the cup after they had eaten, saying, "This cup which is poured out for you is the new covenant in my blood." The new agreement starts with the love Jesus shows for us on the cross. Real obedience comes from the heart that loves God. This is made clear in Matthew when it says, "But when the Pharisees heard that Jesus had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered themselves together. One of them, a lawyer, asked him a question, testing him. 'Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law?' And he said to him, 'You should love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the great and foremost commandment. The second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself.' On these two commandments depends the whole law and the prophets." This love is the distinguishing mark of the Holy Spirit in the life of the believer. God pours his love on all of us through his Spirit. And hope does not disappoint because the love of God has been poured out within our hearts through the Holy Spirit who was given to us. Those receiving his love expresses it by displaying the fruit of the Spirit. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness. Hence, obedience is the service and allegiance of love. It is the true sign of discipleship. For this is the love of God, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not burdensome. Love is not displayed giving money or expensive gifts. Love is expressed in how we treat the ones we love. The one who says, "I have come to know him," and does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. Love is expressed in obedience to his commandments, God's commandments. Now that's a message for these last days.